We begin tonight with House Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican from the state of Louisiana. Good to see you, sir. Thank you. When this all started, Republicans were in lockstep, impressively so in terms of both resolve and talking points. Now you have President Trump saying maybe we should negotiate. Maybe we are actually negotiating behind the scenes about health care subsidies while the government shut down. Marjorie Taylor Greene saying there is no plan for health care subsidies that are going to affect a lot of Republicans and folks in red states. The question is this: are Republicans getting squishy?
No, not at all. Great to be with you, Leland. Good to see you. Republicans are 100% united. I talked with the president yesterday and today about this. I went and spoke to the Senate Republicans' weekly luncheon. There is no daylight between House Republicans, Senate Republicans, President Trump, and the White House. We're united, and that's why we're winning this fight, and it's an important one for the American people. With regard to the subsidies, remember, that is 100% a red herring. It's a distraction. This is what Chuck Schumer and the Democrats put together to try to make the issue of the day. The issue of the day is keeping the government open so that services can continue for the American people, and we can do our work here. They are voting repeatedly now 5 times, Senate Democrats, to stop that and shut down the government. There are plans, there are discussions about handling all those issues, but that's for later in the year. We have 3 months before those subsidies expire on December 31. Okay. And the only reason the clock's ticking and working against us right now is because of Democrats, not Republicans.
I understand the argument, and this is the time that Republicans have voted to keep the government open, not voted to shut it down. So your point is well taken. You may win on the facts. You are not winning the public relations battle. The polling is clear. Americans are blaming Republicans for this. You are going to dismiss it as because the media has taken the side of Democrats and Democratic messaging. I don't need to tell you that perception is reality in American politics, and if 12% of Americans, who do you blame for the shutdown, plus 12% Republicans, that is not a good place to be in. Are you all united in effectively driving over the political cliff together?
Yeah, it's not the cliff. It's a great position to be in when the simple truth and the facts are on your side, and we have those. The facts have been obscured, of course, because the legacy and mainstream media are quite literally repeating the Democrats' talking points. In fact, they interrupted my press conference a couple days back in mid-sentence where I was showing the exhibit, pointing them to the page in the paragraph where Chuck Schumer wants to give taxpayer-funded benefits to illegal aliens again, and they muted my commentary and said that I was not being truthful. CNN has since apologized because it was so far over the line. The polling is moving in our direction. There is polling today that shows that Democrats are increasingly being blamed for the shutdown because, Leland, those are the facts. The fact is the Republicans have voted repeatedly to open the government. The Democrats have now voted 5 times in the Senate to shut it down. As John Adams said, facts are stubborn things.
Well, I must say, the fact that you got CNN to apologize is impressive in and of itself. Unprecedented in every way possible, I think, for a Republican. The point I think we're going to get to, though, at least in about 10 days, is paychecks, because that is the first time that federal employees will not get paid. I don't have to tell you, you know from your district back home, how tight things are for so many Americans, federal employees included, are not necessarily living high on the hog. You have made the point over and over again that federal employees who are furloughed in this shutdown will get full back pay. As I'm sure you heard, the president, and we will play the soundbite for our viewers, is not exactly sure on every employee getting made whole. Take a listen.
I would say it depends on who we're talking about. I can tell you this, the Democrats have put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, but it really depends on who you're talking about. But for the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way.
Who doesn't deserve to be taken care of?
I'm not sure. You have to ask the president who he's referring to, but I've spoken to him as recently as last night about this issue. We want to protect hardworking federal employees who work for our agencies and do the important work. It's not just troops and Border Patrol agents and TSA. It's people that work in the agencies that do good work. Now, that said, Leland, as limited government conservatives, we all understand the federal government is too large, it does too many things, and it does almost nothing very well. And if there's a way to increase efficiency for taxpayers, we have a responsibility to do that. So So I'm not mired in the details of what the Office of Management Budget is doing, but I know they're putting together contingency plans, and we'll have to see how that shakes out.
So let's put two things in separate buckets here. Bucket number one is if the Office of Management and Budget uses this opportunity to lay off mass numbers of federal employees, which is possible and which Republicans would say is Democrats' fault because they shut down the government. The other issue, though, is people who come back to work. Would you support a bill that reopens the government but does not provide back pay for every federal employee that was still on the payroll?
No, I don't think that's going to be the issue. I think the Democrats, if they'll come in here and do the sensible thing tonight or tomorrow and reopen the government, all of this is a moot point. We'll take care of the problem. But the decision point is on the Democrats, not Republicans. Look, it's always been tradition that furloughed federal employees do get back pay, and I think that will still be the case. There is some other legal analysis that's being circulated right now, but I've been pretty busy, Leland. I haven't had a chance to read into that and make a legal conclusion of my own. I'm just telling you that there's discussion about it. But I'm for making sure that people are made whole, because American workers should not be made victim. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's a hypothetical. It's not been presented to us, but I'm in favor of them getting their back pay.
Okay. All right. Moving on, and I am not a parliamentarian, nor am I particularly well versed in the rules of the House, nor am I a lawyer, so I'm at a three-peat disadvantage to you in my next question that is coming. But my understanding is the House of Representatives is something called a pro forma session. And Democrats say that you will not swear in a Democrat who was elected in an Arizona special election because you do not want her critical vote on the Epstein discharge position. If she voted for it, then the discharge position would come up on the Epstein files. There she is there speaking. Why won't you swear her in?
Yeah. I mean, again, they're becoming experts at distraction and red herrings. This has absolutely nothing to do about Epstein. This is a scheduling matter. As soon as the Democrats vote to reopen the government, we will get back to the regular order and session of Congress, and that'll be, I'm sure, among our first orders of business is to administer the oath to the newly elected representative. This is just a matter of the schedule. In a pro forma session, no one's there in the chamber. It's literally sometimes 3-4 people. You have a clerk and whomever is serving as the interim speaker. They bang the gavel in, they say the pledge, and they bang the gavel out. That's it. It's just to keep Congress functioning. It's a tradition of the institution. But we'll do it right and do it in the right way as soon as everybody gets back here.
I understand, and that makes perfect sense until we look back and see that there have been Republicans sworn in during pro forma sessions. So why should it be different for a Democrat?
The great question. There was a unique exception made when the 2 Florida representatives were sworn in earlier this year after winning a special election. And the only reason we did that is because it was previously noticed for that date, and they flew all their families and friends in for the ceremony. So because they were here and the session got canceled, we just went ahead and did it because their families were here. That's the main purpose of it. But,
so if she flies in her family, would you guys do it?
All of us, she'll get the full bells and whistles. It hasn't been scheduled because
right?
we don't schedule things for pro forma. No, but they're trying to make an issue out of nothing. I've looked forward to welcoming her. She's congratulated for having won her father's seat. He served a long time. She'll have a great career. But, again, these are distractions. We have to get the government open so that we can get all these regular processes working again. That's all this is.
All right. One of the things that has come up in the Senate while the House is in pro forma session is the current hearing situation that has devolved. I'm not sure if while you were busy, understandably today, you got a chance to watch Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, testify in the Senate. Take a listen.
Who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
When will it be that the members of this committee on a bipartisan basis demand answers to those questions and refuse to accept
Clearly you're
personal,
a failed lawyer
refuse
because
to accept,
you don't understand when someone can and cannot answer.
Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women.
You're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe.
Have congressional hearings become just show and almost back to what we saw with the McCarthy hearings in the 50s, that it is no longer about oversight?
You know, we hear that concern a lot, and I share it. I think social media, the 24-hour news cycle, and cameras in every proceeding of Congress, there's some merits to having the cameras there, but there's also some downsides to it. And what you have is members who are performing for the cameras so they can get a clip to share on social media and get likes and raise money. I mean, that's a reality that no one can deny. How we adjust to that in the modern Congress is our challenge, to make sure that the hearings still work, that the institution is preserved, and we do the right thing for the people. And getting answers in that environment, getting real answers that really matter, is a difficulty right now. But we've got to fine-tune things. This is not what the founding fathers anticipated, Leland, right? They couldn't have imagined this scenario. But we have to deal with it. You know, we're about to have our 250th anniversary of the greatest nation in the history of the world. We've got to continue that. We've got to adjust to make it happen.
Couldn't agree with you more. One of the things also that the founding fathers probably did not anticipate is the idea of states and local government not following the laws of the federal government. And we've had a few incidences of that, namely in the period before the Civil War, led up to the Civil War. We had it in the Civil Rights era. And last night on the program, Bill O'Reilly compared J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson of Illinois to George Wallace, famous governor during the Civil Rights Movement who defied the federal government, and thus federal troops came in. Take a listen.
The authorities in Illinois and Chicago are doing exactly what Wallace did. We're not going to obey federal law. Therefore, President Trump has the legal right to go in and enforce it from the federal point of view.
Comparing Pritzker to George Wallace, fair comparison?
Well, probably so. I mean, if you look at it historically and you look at the scope and the activity of what they're engaged in, I think that's a fair comparison. I do think that we have to enforce federal law, and we have to do it by abiding by the law. The Republican Party is the rule of law party. Remember what all this is about. They're objecting to restoring law and order and safety on the streets of their cities and in their states. And that's a real problem. If you poll the people who are involved, the actual citizens who are having to live in these criminal zones, they're grateful for the help. The D.C. mayor here in Washington, where we cleaned it up because of the National Guard troops, is a progressive Democrat. But she said, thank you so much, because we brought crime rates down dramatically here. And she is dealing in reality when these other officials that you just named are dealing with politics. That's all this is. They want to show a fight against Trump, even if it's at their own detriment. It's really amazing to me.
Look, as a resident of Washington, D.C., I would also say thank you to the president for bringing in the National Guard. It was well needed. And the local police were handcuffed here until the president made it an issue to deal with these things. And now the streets in D.C. are a lot safer. But I just want to put a fine point on this, because I think this is an important issue. You understand the significance of comparing J.B. Pritzker and George Wallace. And I just want to make sure you're okay with that comparison.
Listen, I don't know if this is a gotcha question. I'm just telling you, you can make
it's not gotcha. No, it's not gotcha.
Action. No, listen. I mean, yeah, I'm not labeling it anything. It is outside of my lane on what there is to do about that. But I will tell you, as an amateur historian and a constitutional law attorney, I think it's a real problem when you have local and state authorities who are defying the federal government. It gives us a constitutional crisis in a certain respect, and it has to be dealt with. I mean, now how we deal with that and what it is and how you compare it to what epics of American history, I'll leave that to others. But I'm just telling you that my job, what we're doing right here, is we're trying to maintain the institution, maintain the rule of law and law and order. And I think that's a first order of business for government. I think you could say that's the most important role of government, is to keep the people safe from a national security perspective and a domestic security perspective inside our cities and states. We got to get the job done, and I'm grateful that we have a president who sees that and wants to take real action to make it happen.
Mr. Speaker, thank you as always for the time, sir. We appreciate it.